Everton have been hit with another points deduction. This Premier League just gets stupider and stupider. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. Coming up, we'll give you some brief details about the Everton breach and the punishment. We'll talk you through that and how it impacts Forest, and is it good news or bad news? If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Let's get this video to like 500 likes. You guys can do that, no problems. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new, and don't forget we'll have Grumpy Old Reds tonight at 6:30, so make sure you tune in for that. Okay, let's jump into this one and let's break down exactly what's happened. So the overriding headline on this is that Everton have been deducted 2 points from the Premier League's commission, or the independent commission should I say, and that has dropped them down from 29 points to 27 points, which leaves them 16th in the table and 2 points clear of both Forest and of Luton. Brentford have jumped them. Man, I just love Brentford to go down. Anyway, let's talk you through the rough details that we do know, and this will be like headline ones. We'll do another video breaking down the full report, which is over 60 pages. So give us a chance to catch up on that. But they breached by £16.6 million. Now their overall spend we know was £89.5 million. But not everything goes under PSR, as we told you in that video. There are things like stadiums, infrastructure, etc. that get mitigated, but they did breach. Now, Everton's argument was around the fact that the latest breaches were a consequence of the same issues which led to their previous charge. Their lawyers submitted that it would be unfair to impose a punishment again on the same offence. So what they were arguing is basically double jeopardy. And a 2-point penalty suggests that this has been taken into consideration, with Everton paying the price for an additional year's loss. So, the Premier League have released a statement on this. Let me just read this one out to you. A Premier League statement read that an independent commission has given an immediate 2-point penalty deduction for Everton FC for a breach of the Premier League's PSR rules for the period ending 22-23. Over a 3-day hearing last month, the independent commission heard evidence and arguments from the club in respect of a range of potential mitigating factors for its admitted breach of 16 million, including the impact of the 2 successive PSR charges having done so. The commission determined that the appropriate sanction to be a 2-point deduction, taking effect immediately. The independent commission reaffirms their principles that any breach of PSR is significant and justifies, indeed requires, a sporting sanction. So, what's interesting in that statement of that waffle from the Premier League is the key line for me is about them admitting it. So mitigating factors for its admitted breach of 16.6. So that's where I think they've learned from their mistakes from their previous breach, and they put their hands up in Forest fashion. Now, what have Everton said about this? Let's tell you what they said, and then we'll piece this all together. So, in January 2024, the Premier League, Everton were charged, we all know all that. The matter refers to the commission, which has today announced Everton will receive an immediate 2-point deduction. While the club's position has been that no further sanctions were appropriate, the club is pleased to see the commission has given credit to the majority of the issues raised by the club, including the concept of double punishment, the significant mitigating circumstances facing the club due to the war in the Ukraine, and the high level of cooperation and early admission of the club's breaches. There you go, club admitting breaches. Hands up, sorry. Just like Forest is working in their favour. Everton remains committed to working collaboratively with the league on all matters relating to PSR, but is extremely concerned by the inconsistency of different commissions in respect of point deductions applied. They're referencing Forest here. The club would like to place on record its thanks to the Fan Advisory Board and other fan groups for their submissions during the process, and to all Evertonians for their ongoing patience. Here's the bit. excuse me, that should interest us. The club and its legal representatives have begun the preparations to appeal the commission's decision. No further comment will be made at this time. So, a lot of interesting things to unpack there. Firstly, main one is that Everton held their hand up. So, they learned and saw what Forest did, even though technically they would have done that before, and that's helped them in this instance. The second thing is, they've already said they're going to appeal it. They've basically said, yeah, 2 points, cool, we'll appeal it. And it makes sense, definitely, for Everton to appeal it. Why? Because Forest's hearing will be before theirs. Therefore, they will be able to have Forest as their litmus test, because there is this very small chance that you could get given more points. But what's going to happen is they'll see what's happened to Forest. Do Forest get more point reductions off the back of their appeal or not? And if they do, they'll continue with their appeal. If not, they can always just withdraw it. Now, on top of that, believe it or not, Everton have another PSR charge. And this is the bit that just blows your goddamn mind when it comes to it. So what's happened here is to do with its interest payments. Now, it's very geeky in terms of what it's talking about, but Everton, it's to do, let me just read this little bit out for you. As alleged by the Premier League's PL amendments, accordingly, a further hearing will follow. They're gonna have another hearing about the £6.561 million, which I believe is part of their loan. And that's not going to take place until next year, because basically the commission said they can't do that part of this sanction on an expedited time frame. Like, then what's the point? What's the point? This is like they're picking and choosing parts that they should be done. So what we could see is that in the 24-25 season, Everton already go in there being hit with point deductions that technically should have been in for this season. It's becoming so messy that it's not even funny anymore. We're going to see a table now with a star against Everton's name, 2 stars against Forest's name, and then a star and another further 3 stars against Everton. I don't even know how they're going to do this table. But in my opinion, this is good news for Forest. Why? Because Everton have been hit with such a small penalty that I think that when Nick DeMarco gets his teeth into the 60-page document, he's going to find loads of reasons why Everton were mitigated for this and potentially Forest should have been mitigated for it, or have an argument as to why it's not a level playing field. What I think's been important to both Everton and Forest, and Everton have quoted the Forest case loads in their appeal, is that each club has been able to bounce off each other's appeal. So almost try and say, well, look what you did for Forest. And Forest saying, well, look what you did for Everton. And that way it causes precedent, and precedent is the key thing in all of this. But the bottom line and the headline here is that Everton have been hit with 2 points and they still have a further charge incoming. What do you guys think about all of this? Give us some time. We'll get through the 60-page document. We'll pick out some highlights for you. Maybe do another follow-up video. We'll talk about this, no doubt, a little bit on Grumpy Old Reds tonight. So, if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And we'll see you at 6:30. Come on, you Reds.